and I want to welcome you in. Welcome, welcome, welcome to today's episode of the Wealth Academy podcast. Today, I get to interview Mr. Paul. We're going to talk about his new book, Leadership is Influence. Mr. Paul, welcome. How you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful, Shae, and thank you so much. I'm honored that you're interviewing me on my new book, and we're just going to have a conversation, have a good old time. And I love what you do as a host with Shaquan Speaks. So I'm looking forward to this experience.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. And thank you for welcoming me on your platform to be a guest host. Y'all see it.
Yeah.
Guest host of Wealth Academy podcast. Let's jump on in.
All right.
Um, Before we talk about your new book, walk us through how you first came about becoming an author and how did you first position your book? Because you have several. So matter of fact, let's pause on that second step and let's focus on the first one.
Okay.
Author. Mr. Paul, walk us through that journey. How did this come about?
Okay, so fantastic, and thank you so much. First of all, becoming an author is something I had talked about for years. You know how we talk about things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to
Yep.
do that. And I said, I have this book inside of me. I have to get it out somehow. And after I retired from the Air Force, decided this is the perfect time because I didn't have all of those day in and day out grinds at the Pentagon like I did for 12 straight years. And so what came about was I never attended a school to write books because a lot of people ask me, well, what school did you go to learn how to write a book? And the answer is my English teachers from elementary school through 12th grade.
I know that's right. You hear that? Can we shout them out? Do you know their names? Do you remember their names, Mr.
I
Paul?
can't remember all of their names,
Okay.
but I can tell you that they wanted me and my classmates to be the best writers we can be. And so oftentimes when I'm writing books, I have them in my mind because I would want them to be proud of me. And so, how it all came about for me after I retired, I started out as a speaker.
Hmm.
And I ended up going on this 12 city speaking tour. And from that tour, I earned quite a bit of revenue from it. So I decided now is the time to write the book that I really want to write. And so I had hired a coach by the name of Dottie Walters, who was a speaking coach, had been in the speaking industry for over 53 years. And she wrote this book called Speak and Grow Rich. She put on a marketing symposium in Burbank, California. I went to attend it. I met people who did book covers, interior or formatting of the interior of the book, and the people who actually published the books. And when I finished up that workshop, that 4-day, 3-night workshop, I flew from Long Beach, California, back to Washington Dulles Airport. On that flight, I wrote down, I'm going to start writing this book on this month, which was October, and by the week of Thanksgiving, I will have written this book. And that's exactly what I did. So I wrote this book called Living on Higher Ground. And that's really what sparked me from that very first book to writing the books I have now. I have 3 solo books and 3 co-authored books.
I'm just curious. This is just me off the top with it. What does that first book solve? Can you kind of like delve into that? Because typically, right, you
Yeah,
got books that are just written at leisure, just
sure,
fun,
sure.
but you seem to be a man that's on a mission. Can you help us walk us through that?
Absolutely. And that first book, and thank you for asking, Shay. The first book is called Living on Higher Ground. And so it's a motivational and inspirational book. And I really wrote the book about my life, but I
Mm.
wrote about the joy of life itself. And in fact, the subtitle is How to Live with Joy and Happiness. And as a result, I talk about from the day I was born until the time I retired from the military.
Mm.
And in this book, I talk about things such as how to be empowered, how to be inspired. And I talk about my faith journey and how that all worked out for me, which is continues to this day. And then I talk about my experience in the military and how I was able to go from a space of not knowing what the military was to actually serving 20 years as a military officer and the expectations for me. And again, what I want people to take from this is that when I was younger, I had been told that, hey, I would never accomplish anything in life. There were some bad seeds that were in the community. So you'll never achieve anything. You'll never be able to do this, that, and other. I did not achieve success because of what they said. I achieved success because I knew God's plan for my life.
Mm.
And so when I wrote this very first book, it was really a testament to all of the people who had actually contributed to getting me to where I am today. My parents, my grandparents, my extended family, my friends, and my colleagues. And so this book really helps people to live at a higher level and helps people to achieve in spite of the obstacles that they are faced with in life. And so that's what that first book was, and everything after that was a springboard from the first
Mm.
book. Yes,
I mean, who doesn't need to understand how to fight that invisible enemy, those thoughts, right? And
absolutely.
what I heard you say is, Shay, not only did I capture my life's journey, I also focused on how I paid more attention to those that was pouring into me as
Yes.
opposed to those that were against me. And this first book, the title again is
It's living on higher ground.
Living on Higher Ground.
Mhm.
It's for anybody that needs to understand this is how you defeat and overcome your Goliath in life.
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna have to definitely get that. Where can they get these books at, Mr. Paul? Just really quick.
People can go to www.leadershipisinfluencebook.com. And I actually have the full collection of the Laurel Reef Publishing, which
Mm,
is the name I publish under there. So again, and I have it flashing here on the podcast, www.leadershipisinfluencebook.com. And I base it on the new book, but I also bring in the other two solo books I've written as well.
nice. That brings me right into our second question. Mr. Paul, Leadership is Influence. This is your third book. This is what
Third,
you're about to
third solo.
debut now, shortly here. What has the journey been like for you as an author and as a book publisher? You talked about
Mhm.
your first book, but now we're on this third book, and I'm sure there was a lot of lessons learned. Can you kind of call those out for us and give us some insight into the thoughts you were thinking and how you were able to materialize this tangible book, third book?
Yes. Well, thank you for asking that question, Shay, in terms of how I can, the evolution of the book as a publisher
Hmm.
and an indie publisher, independent publisher, and as an author. And I had to come up with what I call a blueprint.
Hmm.
And the blueprint is I can either choose to be published by a publishing agency or I can choose to do it my own. I chose to do it my own way because I wanted more independence. I wanted to be the decision maker for all of my books, and it's working. And so what I decided to do is come under the banner of Laurel Reef Publishing. And people ask, well, where did Laurel Reef come from? Well, I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, so I just use what our logo is. It's Laurel Reef. That's what we talk about. So I said, okay, Laurel Reef Publishing. And so after I published the first book, it worked out really great. I published the second book, which is titled Faith for Times Like Now. And then I published this book, Leadership is Influence. But the maturations of being a author is that I get an opportunity to do what I love, and I love to write. And
Hmm.
one of the reasons why I love to write is because I know that I can provide some solutions in the book to help people. So it's something that's greater than myself. And then, secondly, to become a publishing company, I have to know everything to do. I have to know when the book is finished. I have to get someone to edit the book for me. I have to get someone to do the interior design, the interior of the book, to include the color, the book cover itself. Then I have to go to the copyright, get the copyrights for it so you can protect the intellectual property. And so it's different things such as that. And then, of course, comes what? The launch of the book. That's the beautiful day. I want to just share real quick, Shay, what my experience was like after I wrote my first book. And that experience was when the first order of books came in, I actually received cases of the book.
Right.
And the second thing I did, I got one of my best friends. He went with me to get him one. I opened a box and I saw the very first book. It just blew me away. I had tears in my eyes because I
Oh,
knew what it took. That conversation we had earlier about, I always said that I wanted to write a book, and it was
yeah.
actually in my hand. And it was a time. It was what I call emotional celebration. And then after that, I set up a book tour. And since I had retired from the Pentagon and from the military, I hit every military facility on the East Coast. Of course, I went back to the Pentagon where I worked 12 years, but I hit
Sure.
Dover, Delaware, where I went to basic training. I went to Fort Bragg in North Carolina. I went to Fort Belvoir in Virginia. I went to Andrews and Joint Base Bowling here in Washington, D.C., and
Mm,
other parts of the country. But I actually created a book tour because, we've had conversations about doing a speaking tour where the book tour is
yeah.
just like it. But by having a book, it adds even more context. It gives you more of an expert, an authority position. And that's
Mhm.
what being an author does.
Man, this is so major because it's like you hear about career advice, you hear about people who have these stories that are inside of them, and what you just provided us not only with, hey, I produce books and I'm the person that's taking it from idea to tangible product. You provided some practical steps. And I hear you speaking about publishing too.
Yes.
I just kind of want to delve into, like, I know you talked about wanting a little bit of ownership.
Sure.
What's the different route? Share with the audience
Mhm.
if you would have gone the other route. One, can you name what that would have been? What that process looks like so people can have an option to say, hey, self-publishing might be for me, or
Sure.
hey, I might want a little more hand-holding, but this is what you should expect from that perspective.
A great question, Shae. And in fact, I'm going to share that with you right now. Let's say if I were going to a publishing house and they take my manuscript and take a look at it. Well, at that point, it would be up to them whether or not they want to go forward with actually publishing it and giving me a publishing deal. And I've worked with people who have a company called a book deal, how to get a book deal. And so you have to pitch them. You have to pitch these big publishing houses. Let's say if it's Random House, as an example. And you might have to wait 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, and your manuscript is just sitting there. In essence, they own that book. You've written it, but they own that book. Whereas being an indie publisher, for me, Laurel Reef Publishing, I have full control and decision over everything. And I also control how much I can generate from each book. Whereas with a publishing house, let's say if the book is $19.99, after all the fees and expenses for distribution, marketing, you might end up with $2 to $3 if you're lucky out of that 19.99.
If you're
Out of the
lucky, right?
blood, sweat, and tears, you have to sell a lot of books to make a lot of money, to make
Okay,
some money.
yes, sir. I see that.
And so when you go as an indie author, and that's not in all cases, I
Mhm.
can actually still take the book I have right now, Leadership Influence, and I can actually propose that to a publishing house today
Mm,
if I wanted to. But I can get more books written faster as an independent book publisher than I could if I waited for a publishing house to do it. And to me, that's the biggest difference: is being able to have control over your books and your intellectual property.
mhm,
And that's why it's so important to get the copyrights corrected. Because if you go in without the copyrights, people can actually steal your material and they can actually make money off of it. But if you have the copyrights in place and someone tries to get ownership of it, and you find someone selling it, you can get back at least $150,000 of what you have lost.
mm.
So I think that it's major that one gets the legal aspect of their book or of even of their podcast, of their blog, of their YouTube channel. You have to get ownership of all of that, lest one loses it.
Oh, you giving us the game, Mr. Paul. You giving us the game on how to get the bag and keep the bag.
You
Okay,
got to
so
keep that
so
back.
listeners, listen up. Hear him when he says this. There's two different routes you can go. You
Oh
can
yeah,
go the route of the publishing company or publishing house. Their Your property becomes theirs. You've
that's
done the
right.
hard work, but you are at the ball is in their court, meaning timing is in their court. If you want to get
Yeah,
this material out quick enough, that's not up to you. And funds, the majority of the funds is in their court. So if that's a
exactly.
route that you're still like, hey, okay, cool, I still want to move that way, you
Sure.
have, by all means, do that. But if you want to get the bag and keep the bag,
You want
Mr.
to keep that
Paul,
back.
also walk through his route, the
I want
publishing
I
route.
want to share just a little bit more because I really want people to get this
Please
lesson
do,
here.
please do.
And because it's all about the evolution of being an author and a publisher, and now the emphasis is on publishing.
Mhm.
But when we start looking at publishing as well, let's say people can actually upload their book, ebook, for example, on Kindle, just
Okay.
as an example. But there are others, Nook and some of the others, like with Barnes and Noble. And once you put it out there for Kindle, for 90 days, you cannot give anyone else the ability to sell your book. So you're locked in for 90 days. So let's say if you sold 1,000 books, you may not get your money until maybe 30, 60, 90 days down the road. They hold on to your money and they decide how much you can get. Because I know some people who have lost money. And so I'm not painting a bad picture because some people are very successful on there. But what I'm your book, let's say if it's $10, we're going to take 30%, a 30, they're going to take $3 from you right off the bat. They haven't written the book, they just have it on their platform. And then let's say if my brother Michael was to purchase a book, he puts in his name, he pays with his credit card, they get the email list with my brother's name on it. I don't, right? I don't know who purchased the book. They do. So when you put the book in your own, or as we say, put the ball in our own court, you sell your books yourself, you set up your website, you can sell your ebook and your paperback books and hard copies because you can get someone to print those for you. And you can sell it from your own site and you can cut out, quote unquote, the middle person or the middleman or the middle woman. And so you want to have more control over your future. And let's say we get you get what we call the middle person, another company, and they take your book and they distribute it to like 50 to 60 different publishers. They send it to libraries, they send it foreign. Everybody gets a piece of that $10. So you might end up with 50 cents per book,
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
opposed to being able to get 10 yourself. You're going to get 10, as an example, plus tax. See, because you have to set up your taxes in there as well for the state that you happen to reside in. For
Could
example, for me, it's 6% for the state of Maryland. So whoever purchased the books, they have to pay 6%.
well, could you give us an example
Mhm.
of just for the publishing house example,
Sure,
provide us with an example of individuals or entities where they benefit from going with a publishing house. And then, because I think you're doing such a good job of painting a picture of, listen, it may feel like a lot because it
sure,
is. It's a lot to create your
absolutely,
own material and see it all the way through.
sure.
However, here's some examples of people who do really well with the publishing house. Um, I
Well,
just,
I'll,
'cause-
I'll I'll give you an example.
yeah, for sure.
Someone I met, and when I was speaking in Toronto, Canada, Chris Gardner from the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. You know, Will Smith played his role in that
Right.
movie.
Hmm.
Well, Chris was homeless, remember? Him and his son sleeping in the bathroom. They're
Hmm.
pushing uh, grocery store carts. That was their transportation. And he would take his son to work with him. And ultimately, he wanted to become an investor, stock market investor.
Hmm.
And so his story came out, and of course, it blew up. One of the best movies ever. And I got the chance to meet him. And so when he wrote his first book was called The Pursuit of Happiness, and his second book was titled Start Where You Are. So the first day that his book launched from his publishing house, they sent me a copy of his book autograph. And I interviewed him on that day. I was the first person to interview him on my online radio show. Well, you know, the story goes, he doesn't sell solo books, one here, one there. He sells in bulk. That's why bulk is my favorite term when it comes to
Yes.
books.
Yeah. Yes.
Bulk sales. And so Chris Gardner now, not only does he max out the United States, they made a movie out of it, but it goes internationally.
Mm.
So that's a person who's worked with a publishing house, and he has a publicist, a person who markets and promotes his book and his speaking engagements and everything else. And now he's off into investing. He's investing in a soccer team in Italy, right?
Mm.
Still invests on the stock market because he sold his investment firm out of Chicago for about, I think it was 600 million, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe anywhere between 350 and six. It's just a lot of change. It's a big bag.
No, for sure, and thank
Yeah,
you for that. I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about,
sure.
how you are
Mhm.
helping the next generation take advantage of becoming authors. Can you
Yeah.
walk us through your, beautiful and intelligent 19-year-old daughter and how you're getting her ready to
Yeah.
take on becoming an author?
Yes, in fact, this summer it was the end of her freshman year at college, and now she's, of course, a sophomore. And when she came home, and I said, "Are you willing to to work with me this summer?" Meaning, I want to work with you, so I'm doing some coaching.
Mhm.
And so she said, "Yes." I purchased her a notepad, and each day she wrote down what her goals were, what she wanted to accomplish, how did she see herself? And in the meantime, I helped her to get a job, her very first job, paid job. And ironically enough, her first job was actually when she was about 4 or 5 years old. And I had a book signing at Fort Meade in Maryland. And she was with me as I was selling my books at the Base Exchange, Post
That's
Exchange.
amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And so now I was able to get her to write every day for about a month before her first job started. And so now she's positioned where she can either write a book or she can use that book and she can speak.
Hmm.
So I have positioned her to do that. And now, of course, working with you, Shay,
Mhm.
I also have agreed to mentor some youth as well for speaking as well as for publishing books or writing books.
Thank you. Thank you. So y'all hear that? Now I know you all that's tapped in and listening, you got children, okay? Mr. Paul has opened up his platform. And let me get a little more specific. Not only is he providing his expertise and his guidance and information to whomever is eager and actually this takes him up on this opportunity. He has a podcast platform that he's inviting these kids to be hosts, guest hosts,
Mhm.
interviewed on the
Yeah,
whole nine. He's not asking for anything. He's providing an opportunity. So please, please, please tap in. Please
yeah.
tap in.
Yes. So there are no hurdles. There's no quicksand. There's no barriers. It's just you have to bring your whole person with you, your whole heart. And it reminds me of this quote I heard, and the man was stating he was a pole vaulter, and
Hmm.
he go to his coach and said, "Coach, I just cannot get over this bar." And his coach told him, said, "Look, you can do it." He said, "In fact, you've already done it. All you have to do is put your whole heart into it." So he kept tried. He tried and failed. He tried and failed. He tried and failed. And then eventually he made it across that bar and he was a success.
And here's
Put
the
your whole
social
foot.
proof. Here's the social proof. You see that guest host of Wealth Academy podcast. I'm taking him up on his offer. So
Yeah,
it's the real deal. There's
yeah,
been no hoops. There's been no quicksand.
yeah.
He's authentic, and I stand on that. Let's get into
Sure.
let's get into what we're here though for.
All right.
What can readers expect from leadership is influence?
Well, what people can expect from this new book is a blueprint to help them to become a better leader. See,
Hmm.
most people don't even know that they're leaders, but everyone who is brought into the earthly realm when they're born from Almighty God is a leader. And the reason why people are leader because they have to do what? They have to lead their life. Everyone has to lead their life. Some people lead their life better than others. And so it behooves everyone to become a good leader. Now, when we position that from an employee standpoint, even when you go to work, you are a leader. You don't have to have the title. A manager is a leader, and the person who has the official title, quote unquote, the president, vice president, executive director of a nonprofit, are all leaders. And I use what I call the three legged stool approach. There's a leader, and I talk about it in my book. There's a leader with the title, and he has the manager with the title working for him, and then and the manager controls the workflow of the employees who are leaders. And how can I say that an employee is a leader? Because they're the ones who are getting the work done. And it's through their leadership abilities, things such as showing the work on time, getting the product or service out in a timely manner, working on projects or group projects together, and they're pushing this information up to the manager who's managing the workflow. And then the person managing workflow is getting that information to the leader, because the leader with the title has a vision for what he wants for the company. They're looking at productivity. They want to become more competitive. And I state in this book, and what people will get from it is that if everyone in the company has strong leadership abilities, they have a competitive advantage over their competition. And they do, because they're all in sync. They can get a lot more done, and they're clicking. As we say back in the South, we're cooking with grease. Okay? We're cooking with grease, baby.
Yes, sir, Ski.
That's what my grandmother said. We're cooking with grease, but
We're
baby.
cooking with that grease, baby.
No, that's what my grandmother told me. And
Now
so,
that's so
so
good.
let's take a look at the book. I'll just kind of show them the title and I'll pull it down
Sure.
so that they can at least get an idea of what it looks like. And see,
Ooh.
this is what it looks like.
Hmm.
Leadership is influence.
This is beautiful.
So it's a three-pronged approach to becoming a leader of influence. And that three-pronged approach is actually the blueprint itself.
Define for us really quick again what, in layman terms, can you help us understand the difference between a leader and a manager?
Absolutely. And great question, Shay. The difference between a leader and a manager. Um, One of my leadership school instructors' name was Admiral Hooper.
Hmm.
Admiral Hooper is a wonderful lady. She's since passed, but someone I always admire. In fact, I reference her in the book because she was in my what we call squadron officer school down at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, my very first Air Force leadership school. And she said, we've had a tendency to manage too much and not lead. We need to do more leading than we do for our managing, because you manage things, but you lead people.
Hmm.
And that's the difference between a leader and a manager. Managing is not leading. Leading, you have to lead people, but you manage different products, you manage services, and equipment. As an example, like the Air Force, we would manage the aircraft. The Navy would manage the ships, the Army the tanks, the Marines would manage their platoons. And so when we look at, in layman's terms, a real leader, beautiful question, Shay. And the bottom line is, a leader is one who has influence. Because the reason why a leader needs to be a leader of influence is because that's the type of person who's not threatened by their title position as the vice president or president. They actually are developing other leaders within the organization,
Hmm.
because they know what that competitive advantage is going to do for them, for productivity, and most importantly for revenue, the bottom line.
And leadership is influence. This new book,
Yes.
help us walk us through how one, because I can see already what is in there. It's a definition. It's helping you
Yeah.
understand the difference between having a title and being a person of
Yeah.
influence. Can you, without giving it away, can you provide us with some other practical tips or strategies that you provide, so that those who are reading know what to look forward when they get their hands on their copy?
Fantastic. This concept comes from my experience. And when we look at that three-pronged approach, number one is to make oneself available to learn.
Hmm.
As my great aunt Carrie would say, who was a teacher for 30 years in North Carolina, my hometown, is that education is defined as acquiring knowledge. So one must become a student of the craft. So in order to understand leadership, you have to observe the most inexpensive way and priceless way to learn about leadership is to observe the leader that you work for now, the one with the title. Because when you observe what they're doing, you're going to look for things such as does this person have good communication skills? Do they have empathy? Do they have a vision? And most importantly, do they have a vision for you and a plan for you to move up through the chain so that you can become a better leader? The second thing is to actually be put on in a leadership position. For example, I mentioned earlier about a group project. So if you have a project where you're trying to sell more widgets, as an example, you have to put together a plan so that you can sell more of your products. So what putting you in the leadership position, it gives you that opportunity to learn how to become a good leader. And you have to communicate upwards to the manager leader, who in turns communicates up to the leader with the title. And so you have a goal of selling, let's say we're going to sell 1,000 widgets in the month of September. And you're going to have to put together, first of all, a plan. So you're actually going through a leadership experience that's going to help you to become a better leader because you're leading this particular project. And let's say you sell 2,000 widgets in that month, then you've been identified as the next level leader, a manager leader, and ultimately you would take over position within that organization. And then the third one is to actually go out and get some leadership training. So you can go through some leadership development workshops, some seminars, and again, you are getting the certified amount. And that's what happened to me. I went to what's called Squadron Officer School, my initial leadership school. Then I went to my intermediate level, which was Air Command and Staff College. And then I had Air War College. And one doesn't have to go through military leadership schools to get this because other organizations offer, even Wealth Building Academy offers leadership development programs. We have it right on our site. We offer 8 different programs for corporation. And the key is to have a standardized leadership program as opposed to having one company come in and deliver leadership and then another. You want to be standardized from all the way from headquarters all the way down to the local level, regional level, etc.
That makes sense. And again, thank you for that. Because the idea of that question was just to provide just a little sneak peek of what
Sure.
is inside, what
Yeah.
can they expect, and
Mhm.
just get your minds around, new tools, new skill sets that are available
Absolutely.
to you in that. Let's kind of
Absolutely.
segue into this question. The the ability to focus in today's age, we all know is we all
Woo!
know is
Technology.
yeah, let's just kind of call it what it is, right? How many
Uh,
what formats does your book come in? And is there anyone that the people that struggle a little bit to focus, do you got something for them people?
well, I tell you, it could be broken down generationally. I can use my children as an example. They definitely want that ebook.
They want
On the phone, right? Or we can
yes.
get a tablet and do it on the tablet, or they can, have it on their laptop. So we have that digital application. Then we have, of course, the paperback version right here. And then, depending on who the company is or organization, they could get a hard copy as well. So we have it in ebook or EPUB. They can get it in Kindle format, or they can get it in PDF format. And then, of course, they can get paperback, and then you can get hard copy. So for me, the real goal is to go with the bulk. So I want to sell it to maybe a business school, or I could sell it to the military, right? Even though they have leadership programs, everyone can't get there, but they can get this book in their hand. But not only that, but I also offer a digital leadership course, how to become a leader of influence. And I have that also within the book, how they can get it. And I also have it on the website. And again, that's www.leadershipisinfluencebook.com. And all they have to do is look at the digital courses that I offer there. They can look at the different book formats. In fact, when they go to this site, the first thing they're going to see is the option for the ebook. And right now, because the launch doesn't take place for another 2 weeks, we're waiting on the audiobook to be completed. People can get it at a discount, a 50% discount. And then they can also pre-order the paperback copy, and those paperback copies, if they do request so, then the books will be autographed as well. So I'm looking at a big publicity blitz coming in about the middle of September. I don't expect to really be sitting at my desk anytime after that, because I'm going to be on TV, I'm going to be on radio and podcasts and everything else, and speaking.
Oh,
So
that's
that's really
amazing.
what it's all about.
Man, it's a complete honor to just be able to have this conversation with you first about all of this goodness that's coming to everyone and what you're providing in the world. I appreciate the opportunity again, Mr. Paul.
Sure.
But we have a couple more questions before we
Okay.
wrap up this exciting conversation. And
Fantastic. And great, great host. Thank you very much.
guest
Shae,
host.
Shae
um,
Chambers.
I appreciate that. So you kind of touched on when the launch is coming. Do you
Yeah.
have a date for us, or do you want to kind of wait to announce
Um,
that?
I'm looking at really, we're probably more like the 15th of September.
Okay.
Because
Everybody,
we're going to have to give the audio book a little bit of chance to get into the system. It's going to be here on the
sure.
11th of September, so 10 days from today.
Okay.
And then we have to have a little bit of time to get that all uploaded and everything. So I always try to give it a little bit extra time. Remember, my superpower is
Patience.
patience.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
So I just wanted to call that out because once
Yeah.
again, there's an opportunity to pre-order and get 50% off
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
away. Please take
Yeah.
advantage of it, y'all. Take advantage.
Yeah. Because when we look at, again, we'll look real quick here at the,
Mhm.
this is the paperback, the cover, and you see this price here is 19.99. Well,
Mhm.
right now people can get it for about $10 and some tax. And so up until the 15th, it'll be sold at a 50% discount. And the same thing with the ebook. But after that, it's going to go up to the regular. And so we talked about a little bit earlier, Shae, about, how do I work in a middle person? What I'm really trying to do is to sell my books myself, as opposed to going through I'll add Amazon, maybe the ebook, but I'm not going to go with the full blown, because I want to be able to control the bag.
For sure. Y'all heard that?
Yeah, and I also want to be able to get that, that email list. But what I do also offer within this book, and I'll just kind of show a page here where I give them the opportunity to sign up for my newsletter, email newsletter, and they can also get a free ebook on growth mindset, because I truly believe that a growth mindset is part of it. So that's really, people will get a free ebook as a result of signing up for my monthly newsletter. And
Y'all see that?
people will also get a update into when new books come out,
Mhm.
promotional books when a discount. They'll also be able to get the opportunity to get the bulk. They'll be able to get all the entire series of books from Laurel Reef Publishing, and they'll be able to get that at a discount too. But this growth mindset is very imperative with how we think. And this ebook, I read that ebook all the time, because again, it's the difference between growth. The opposite is scarcity mindset. And so I'm trying to wean people off of the scarcity mindset and get them into the growth mindset aspect. So I have a free ebook that goes with this as well.
The gift that keeps on giving, y'all,
Yeah,
again.
that's Christmas every day.
Come on, it's Christmas every day.
Every day.
Um, listen, you're you've done an amazing job of one introducing a new concept to someone that may not know about how can I get these stories, how can I get these experiences outside of me and into something to give to the world, to impact, to influence, and to earn income. And you provided us with a walk of here's how I've done it. Here
Yeah.
and also here's another option. But here's how that other option might benefit this particular client. You provided us with a blueprint for the little person, for the underdog, and we
Mhm.
appreciate you. You also gave us some insight into leadership is influence and when that's going to drop.
Mhm.
You even provided us with an opportunity for the focused, non-focused individuals. You giving us love too. But
Absolutely.
and we appreciate that. But I want to wrap up with this.
Sure.
Mr. Paul, this interview is about to come to a close here, right?
All right.
where can we learn about you? Where can the listeners go, especially those young people that are going to be coming your way and want to get some mentorship and all the good things? How can they get in contact with you, sir?
Thank you so much for that, Shae. Again, as the guest host, I could not find anyone more qualified than you to interview me about my new book.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm a very not good judge of character, but great judge of character. And you have it. And so I want to get that out of the way first.
Thank you.
That I have a lot of confidence in you, and I know I can count on you. And you have to know that you can count on me.
Oh, yes.
And that's really what life is all about, because I know that you're going to mentor those beyond yourself. And that's really where the power comes in. But people can reach out to me. Again, I'm going to focus everything on this website here, www.leadershipisinfluencedbook.com. I have my email there, paul@leadershipisinfluencedbook.com. I also have a contact page there. At the bottom of the first page, home page, you can sign there and just let me know if you're interested in me providing you with some mentorship for becoming an author or becoming a podcaster. And I also have, which I intentionally did, and this is intentional, I have my podcast and my YouTube channel linked on this site here. So if people want to go and say, oh, how do I jumpstart this process for becoming a better leader? That YouTube channel, which is titled Leadership is Influence, and they'll be able to go there and see these. I have 28 videos up there now, but I'm going to have a lot more coming by the next month or so,
Mm,
and you'll be able to jumpstart yourself for that. And I'm actually having my YouTube channel audited right now to help to even improve it even more. But a person, if they're looking at, okay, so how do I start? I give you the alpha, and we'll take it to the omega
mm.
as we get more and more channels in there. But I'll help you with that foundational piece there. So you have the podcast, which I have great guests such as Shae Chambers. And then I have the YouTube channel, and I have a lot of content out there. Again, they can just go to this site, www.leadershipisinfluencedbook.com, and all the information there. I have services on there. I have my bio on there. You'll learn everything about me on this site, and that would help people out. And if they want to contact me, they can reach me toll free at 800-341-6719. That's 1-800-341-6719. It's all about being transparent.
Yes, it is. And if y'all want help getting to that bag and keeping it, holla at your boy.
I got that into background.
That's our time, folks. Thank you.
All right. So Shae, thank you so much. And I know just we'll have people go out there to look at episode 250
Hmm.
of Wealth Academy Podcast. You can also go to the website, www.wealthacademypodcast.com. You can also go to Apple Podcasts, and you'll be able to see episode 250 out there as well. So we want to give people all the opportunities and
Yes,
avenues to do so.
for sure.
So, Shae, if you want to close it out, we can.
Oh, yes. First off, this is what I want everybody to understand. Mr. Paul came from humble beginnings too.
Mhm.
Wherever you are on your journey, this is available to you. So what he did was provide us with some information. What he is offering us some guidance, and what he is also offering access to decision makers, and he's one of them. Um, I am a testament of that. I get access to that, and I'm telling you, please, please, please pick up what he's putting down. This is our time, and we're signing off, Mr. Paul. I'm
All
Shae,
right. All
founder of
right.
Shaquan Speaks. Let's go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Everyone, get out there. And I also want you to follow Shae Chambers and what she's doing. She's doing some amazing things.
Thank
And
you.
my vision, and I see for her, is be very successful. And so she is someone to follow. You'll learn more about her in the future, because this is not the only time she's going to guest host for Wealth Academy Podcast, because we appreciate her and all the expertise that
Oh,
she provides.
thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much. All right. Have a great day, everyone. See you on the
Take
next episode of Wealth Academy Podcast.